Hey, where do you need me to take you?
147th Street, LA, California. I got a client to meet there. Welcome back to another episode of It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, where today we're not only returning to a director that we haven't talked about in a long time, but also an actor, Tom Cruise and Michael Mann. Not respectively, switch those around. I'm your host Lugia, and with me today are.
My name is Patty.
And I'm Red, drum arts. Anyway,
You got some news?
yeah, a couple people passed away. Shannon Dottery passed away. In case you aren't familiar with her, she was on Little House on the Prairie in the 80s. She played Heather Duke in Heathers, Brenda Walsh and Beverly Hills 90210 and a couple other 90210s things. So rest in peace. I think the movie that we know her from is Mallrats. She played Renee. I think that was Jason Lee's girlfriend. So yeah, rest in peace, her. Uh, Passed away at age 53. So damn, that's young. She apparently died of in 1999. She got Crohn's disease, and apparently she got breast cancer. Yeah, okay, she died of her cancer. So rest in peace, Shannon. The author of Generation Kill also passed away. Evan Wright. So that was a pretty significant book, which later got turned into I believe an HBO miniseries, which was very popular. That was kind of about the 2003 invasion of Iraq. The Iraq War. It was basically about that. And yeah, Generation Kill was the TV show was like produced by David Simon, who was best known as creating The Wire. He was written by the guy who made The Wire. So that's kind of like one of the reasons that show got so big, the Generation Kill show. So yeah, rest in peace, Evan.
And lastly, in notable passings this past week, actor, comedian, and also former accountant. I did not know that. Bob Newhart passed away at the age of 94. So this hits personally for me because I don't think I ever told you guys. When I was a kid, the Disney movie I watched the most was The Rescuers, and he played one of the main mice in that movie. So that kind of hits me a bit.
I know they're very
Other
tight knit.
than The Rescuers, the two things I know Bob Newhart for are Elf, which you guys probably do as well.
Yeah.
Also, The Big Bang Theory. In the later seasons, he played a recurring character that actually in universe died, and he kind of took on Sheldon's conscience in a way. I don't know. It was something.
Was this also in Young Sheldon?
I I don't watch Young Sheldon, so I don't know.
I know him from Catch 22. I'm sure you guys have heard of the book. There was also a movie.
Moving away from the subject of death and passing, let's talk about something more lighthearted. Gentlemen, when the world needed him most, he returned. Weird Al Yankovic just dropped a brand new polka melody in celebration of the 10th anniversary of his last album. It has been way too long since we've had new Weird Al material. Are you guys familiar with Weird Al's polka stuff?
Vaguely.
Yes.
I'm not like exactly a Weird Al connoisseur. I've listened to some of his songs, like mostly from you. But I haven't really like listened to his whole discography.
Well, on every one of his albums, he has a polka melody, which is basically just a bunch of famous songs from when the album came out, kind of condensed into a remix. And for this one, it's basically a bunch of top 10 hits of the past, well, 10 years. They had a lot of the big artists. He got Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, Olivia Rodrigo, Cardi B of all people, which was pretty funny in how he censored it. The song he briefly included, I won't dare say what it is, but I was not expecting it, and it technically was a Billboard charter of the decade. So when you hear the song, you'll know which one. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Weird Al, so I felt the need to address
Wasn't there also
new
like
Weird Al
an
content.
official animation done by VisiPop for Weird Al?
Well, there was a segment of the song that was animated by her. It wasn't the whole
Okay.
video. It was just one segment.
Yeah, Weird Al tends to get like some animation people to do stuff. I know like Dogtoons did something, and Dogtoons like no one even remembers that fucking dude. I just remember just because like of the Weird Al thing. Honestly, she got John K to do a music video once.
One of his original songs, actually. It wasn't a parody.
Last bit of news is okay, so you know how in the 2000s there was this thing called the Y2K bug, and it was gonna take down a huge chunk of computers in the world.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of happened. Just so there's a security software called CrowdStrike, and it had a glitch in its latest update, and because of that,
Is that the thing that
a ton
caused
of
all those airplane delays?
yes, it caused a bunch of computers to
Ah,
just like
okay, yes.
blue
Yes,
screen
I
of
know
death.
that. I've heard of that.
Yeah, so it caused a bunch of computers to blue screen of death, including like ones involved with like airports and government stuff. So a lot of them had to shut down. I know Lugia's job, he had like those screens. My job didn't have it, but like other like parts of the company, like not my department, but like other ones had that issue, and it was like, my dad was telling me about it. So like, this is like a major fucking thing. The company CrowdStrike did like show like does have a fix, but it's like gonna take a while, and who knows like what are the other like long term kind of issues of it. I actually have a flight on Wednesday, so I'm not I'm not looking forward to that now, but I think it's also like Boeing, so I'm like, oh fuck, like I'm in the Death Machine 2000. But we'll see. We will see.
Let me ask you guys, was the return of Y2K on your 2024 bingo sheet?
No, especially because we're not even nowhere near close to the next time. Like the date will just turn
Honestly,
to 00 on a calendar.
you see the funny thing is that Y2K has how do I put this? The Y2K aesthetic has been getting really popular again. So, in a way, this is the ultimate throwback because like a lot of I know like a lot of fashion right now is kind of leaning into Y2K stuff. Some musicians like Pink Panthers and stuff are kind of trying to lean into Y2K stuff. Heroin Chic is like as a fashion thing is coming back. So a lot of like nostalgic reboots of Y2K stuff. So
You
Y2K
mean the
is kind of like
2000s
in
are
vogue
coming
right now.
back?
Yeah, like not the parts I like, but it's coming back in a way. There's a lot of whatchamacallit,
Well, it has been 20 years, so.
here's like the thing, like what I liked about like the 2000s was the humor, and that's the one thing that's never coming back because that shit was like, here's the thing, like it wasn't racist, it was all satirical, but like I don't think like that kind of satire like plays well anymore. You're not gonna have like a Tropic Thunder nowadays. I'm like, oh well. When's that gonna come back?
Is that it?
Yeah, let's talk about the film.
All right, so Collateral.
Speaking of the 2000s, we're talking about a 2000 movie.
That's very true because this was released on August 2004. It was directed by Michael Mann, who we've talked about before with Heat. This movie had a budget of $65 million and made about 220 million, so it was pretty big at the time. I don't have many fun facts about this movie, but I do have a couple things. So, the writer for this, Stuart Beattie, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, he got the idea for Collateral when he was only 17 years old, when he was thinking about an idea of what if a taxi driver and a homicidal maniac were just nonchalantly talking, and the taxi driver did not know that the guy was a psycho killer.
Man, it's funny he came up with that when he was 17, because that was like the 70s or something. And like what you're describing right there feels like very kind of like post Tarantino, which I guess is like why he made it after like the Tarantino way. But like
Well, this would have been
it's like
several years after.
yeah, but like influence lasts a long fucking time. But yeah,
Right.
this came out like what the same year as Kill Bill, so it's not like Tarantino wasn't still at kind of his peak of popularity. But yeah,
This two-page treatment was called The Last Domino, and it's a bit of a different premise than what we got now, because, like, the guy doesn't actually know that the person he's driving is a killer, and there's a couple other characters that aren't in the final film. Speaking of the characters, the roles of Vincent and Max were originally going to be played by Russell Crowe and Adam Sandler, respectively. 2004 was like when Adam Sandler was still considered like good, right? Or is that the
um,
90s?
I'm pretty sure this came out like around the time Punch Drunk Love did. Like Punch Drunk Love was like 2002, so this was like around the time, and like Rain on Me, which was like a 9/11 like movie. So this was around the time where he was kind of making a pivot into more dramatic acting. So it makes sense actually, I guess,
Okay.
because yeah, Reign Over Me, 2007. So this was like right in between like that period of time where he was starting to do more dramatic roles. Like he was still doing his dumb comedies, and I feel like his bad reputation definitely came from his bad comedies at the time. But like he kind of bounced it out because like 2000 was Little Nicky, which was fucking infamous. No one likes that movie. But like before that was like Waterboy, Big Daddy. So okay, yeah. So this was right around the time where he was starting to kind of lose his. He was starting to get like a more negative reputation because like
He also had to decline because of scheduling conflicts for Spanglish.
okay. To be
AKA
fair,
Priorities.
no. Here's the
I'm just
funny
kidding.
thing. So you're
I
saying
know
this, but
jack shit about that movie.
Spanglish is actually directed by like a pretty well-known director too. So like he's like, oh, you either work with James L. Brooks or Michael Mann, and he was like, one's Michael Mann, this great action director, and the other is a guy who's well known for dramas and comedies. Like he did Broadcast News, Terms of Endearment. He's also like one of the main producers of the Simpsons.
And just go into the field that you probably know best, I guess. But
Like it's a probably much more natural like pivot, just because like he's a guy that's like much more for like much more prestigious and kind of like is more prestigious, but he's also like kind of in the realm that you're more familiar with. So like I get why he did it because like even Punch Drunk Love that was like a romantic comedy, so that was still like in Adam Sandler's wheelhouse. Although it is interesting that like he was gonna be in like Collateral because like I do think that like Uncut Gems does kind of like fit into a Michael Mann kind of like mold. Now that I think about it, I don't know if you guys have seen like
I've seen Uncut Gems.
yeah, but like if you've seen like Thief and like Uncut Gems and Thief are like very similar to me. Like now that I'm actually thinking
Was
about
Adam
it.
Sandler in Thief?
No, Thief is a Michael Mann movie. It was his first
Okay.
one from like the 80s. Like I'm like, okay, yeah, I can like it's interesting that like Michael Mann like thought that Sandler could do this because like Sandler does kind of like his like 20 years later he does kind of perform in a very Michael Mann like film. So, you know, 15 years not 20, but yeah, interesting.
And just one more interesting tidbit is that the role of Max would have then gone to Robert De Niro because he was Travis and Taxi Driver, and they figured, you know what? It's a taxi driver. Let's put him in there. But the studio refused, and they said they need someone younger, so they got Jamie Foxx instead.
Understood, but that would have been funny.
Honestly, I thought if Robert De Niro were to be in the film, I thought he'd play a better Vincent than Max.
Yeah.
Probably, but it still would have been funny.
True.
If only for the inside joke, but whatever.
But what is Collateral about? So, our main character is a man named Max who is a taxi driver, and he's going about his business, picking up people, dropping them off. He meets this one prosecutor named Annie and manages to actually help her out with her stressful work, and the two get acquainted. Immediately after, his next client is a man named Vincent, and he tells him to go to a strange place, and he offers him a deal that if you can take me to 5 locations, I will give you about $600 and basically double your pay for what you do for a living. So he agrees because $600 is $600. Turns out Vincent is actually a hitman, and Max is going around dropping this man off as he kills people. He finds out about this very early too, so the pressure's on. Not to mention that the police and detectives are out to find Vincent, who they're out to find Max, who they think is Vincent. So it's just a whole shitstorm for Max. Not helping the fact that the last person on the hit list is Annie. So that is basically Collateral summed up in 2 sentences. So, what did you guys think?
I just have one random thing I want to say before I really jump into this.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a nickel for the number of action movies I've seen set in LA that feature a supporting character named Annie that has an ending sequence that's a chase on a subway, I'd have 2 nickels, which
What's
isn't
the
a
other
lot,
one?
but it's weird. Speed.
Oh, right.
It's just
And that's
not a
also
lot, but
about
it's
like
weird
a
that
person driving.
not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Yeah, that's also kind of like about a high kind of tension thing with what's your fucking person driving. Yeah, now that you mentioned, they're kind of There's some parallels you can draw between Speed and this. Interesting.
Even some
I was thinking like To Live and Die in
even some of
L.A.
the aerial shots kind of reminded me of like in Speed when you see the bus. Other than that, I didn't really get much Speed vibes. If anything, this movie kind of reminded me of. I mean, it did remind me of Heat, which makes sense because Michael Mann.
Hmm.
It also kind of reminded me of Drive and Training Day of all things.
I can kind
Got
of
a
see
weird.
Training Day.
Yeah, I can see Drive just because
Because Ethan Hawke's character like gets along with Denzel Washington, and it turns out Denzel Washington's character is an absolute piece of shit, and he finds out about this like not very quickly, but like it gets to a point where he's like, I'm fucking stressed out because this guy is actually a maniac. So Red, if I recall correctly, you said this was your favorite Michael Mann film.
yes, it was.
Any reason as to why?
I don't know. It's just I've seen most of his other films, and this one I don't know like the most. I feel like it's got everything I like about Michael Mann, but it's also like a much leaner film than like say Heat, because like Heat's length like does get to me, and I also kind of like there's things about Heat's direction that bothers me. Like it bothers me that like you have this movie that's about these two, and like you don't actually like really see them on screen until like together until like the final scene. Like you have like the diner scene, but they use like shot reverse shot instead of like filming them in ones, and it's like there's like a bunch of like small directing choices like that that just kind of bothers me. When here, I feel like it's filmically like very interesting, like just like how they shoot like their conversations in the text is interesting to me. The action's interesting to me. The character is like Vincent character is like just a lot more like compelling to me than like other man films.
Now you
Like
see,
my other two favorite man films are Thief and Manhunter, which and those are also kind of like have like a similar kind of like Manhunter is also kind of about like a psychopath, and Thief also kind of has this kind of like working class kind of like thing going on, and I feel like that's just what appeals to me about like man, like the more casual kind of like working class elements and like the more psychopathic elements, and this one kind of like dives into both. Also the digital cinematography is just really interesting to me. Like they shot on digital cameras because those like capture the digital cameras back then used to capture light like in interesting ways, so that like they want to kind of so like when they shot it at night, like they wouldn't have to use like artificial lighting, so like film would capture it. So it gave it like a very unique look like to the outside stuff, and I feel like that like extra elements appealing. Plus they use
That
film in
did
the
immediately
indoor stuff.
capture me. It had a very very intro, but like yeah, the cinematography had a very natural look to it. I guess is the best way
Yeah,
to put
that's
it.
because like
so
he
I'll
was leveraging like brand new technology, and that's like not something that a lot of people do. And what's interesting is I don't even think digital cameras can like do that anymore. It's like he was really like this was like a brief window of time. So like there are very few movies that look like this.
Yeah,
And like
I also
he's
found
honestly,
it
going in the
the
compelling
right.
how
cinematography was really good. One of my favorite aesthetics in like any sort of media is nighttime cities, and the fact that this whole movie just takes place over the course of one night, I think that kind of like made the vibe like hit stronger,
Yeah.
especially with some of the music choices they had in the beginning, where it's like
Yeah, and it's
really
not like
calming music, like that kind of like sucks you in.
yeah, and it's not artificial because again, like these cameras are just really good at capturing stuff at night, so they don't have to use like artificial lighting like they would in like other films that are like shot on film or something. And
I found
and they
compelling
don't like
about the cinematography was how throughout almost the entire movie, almost whenever it's Max and somebody else that Vincent knows, it's always they're never on camera at the same time, or when they are, you never see both their faces, which I thought was very interesting.
yeah, yeah. See, choices like that also like the cinematography and Heat kind of bothered me at times because like the way they kind of shot people, but like here it actually like feels like more purposeful. So like it grabs me. Again, I love Heat. I think it's a great film. It's just like there's a few like elements of its direction and pacing that bothers me when it doesn't here. What I also like is that the digital camera stuff isn't a gimmick. Like he uses the best camera for the best situation. There are actually like scenes in here where he does shoot on film, and like I want to know if like you guys like know which scenes he shot on film. Just out of
I'm going
curiosity.
to assume the one shot on film was like when they were in the lawyer's office. Is that wrong?
Was it the Lords? I think it was like indoor scenes. Like the indoor scenes were shot on film. So
Yeah, like
yes, I was
The
thinking
Office,
the
Jazz
one of
when you were
Club?
them.
talking like jazz musician dude.
Yeah, the Jazz Club.
The
Especially
jazz club
when
was like the main one, I believe.
yeah, like when you're getting all the shots of Daniel playing on the stage, I'm like, that looks that looked more.
Vibrant.
I don't know what the, I don't yeah, I don't want to say professional, but it looked more cinematic, I guess.
Like a
I was gonna say
little
vibrant because I
grainy.
feel like the colors was like the main thing that kind of like made it seem different. But yeah,
It is a good looking movie all around, though.
and again, like I thought, like the action, like the pace was like pretty good. It still has all like the naturalistic qualities I like about Michael Mann's other movies, and yeah, so it's just lean, breezy. Like there's no real fat. Like even when you like your description, it's just like pretty. It's a pretty like clean cut kind of film, you know. And I can appreciate that kind of like no frills kind of just thriller.
Yeah, overall, I had a pretty good time
Like
with this
there's
movie. I
there's
like
no
this. I
fat with
like
this movie. Like it reminds me of like Jack Reacher or something.
yeah, my overall experience was a positive one. I really liked the setup of this guy driving around a hitman and afraid for his life of like what's going to happen to him. And I thought the performances from Cruise and Fox were great. The one thing about this movie that I don't completely jive with is this may sound weird. I felt like it was trying to be more than it needed to be.
Actually, I feel like it was kind of less than it wanted to be. So what?
Really?
So, all right. So what do you think?
I don't know. Maybe this is a case where I'm missing something, but I thought some of the later conversations between Vincent and Max where they were trying to be really deep, I didn't quite understand why they were there. Like they're just driving and he's basically saying, life is short. Make of it what you will. We're all insignificant. And I'm just like,
I
okay.
think that's supposed to imply that Vincent might just straight up kill Max like after the job is done.
Yeah, that is the implication that we're going for.
I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I don't know. That and I just straight up don't get the point of the scene where the fox crosses the road.
I don't understand it either. It's just the setup for
Um,
like a music sequence, but it's just there.
I think they're trying to like draw parallels to like the Fox and Vincent being like predators and whatnot.
So I thought that there was probably a couple missed opportunities. Mainly with Annie. She's a prosecutor. What I was thinking was that since the police were after Max, who they thought was Vincent, they would take him in, like, near the end of the film, like maybe in the last act, and then Annie would probably be, well, Annie is on the case for Vincent, and then, like, she sees Max, and she's like, oh shit, it's you? Like, it could be one way or the other, where she goes against Max, or she believes him, and then, like, she has to, like, defend him. Well, that's not what a prosecutor does, but you know what I mean. Like, she has to, like, struggle with the truth. That's not what happens. And there's also, I feel like the police wasn't really utilized, like, as a whole in the other detectives, because, like, there's the one that thinks that, like, you know what, there's something bigger going on. I don't think this guy Vincent, who is really Max, is, like, the guy that we're looking for. And then he just gets shot. The whole third faction of the detective agency is just, like, almost non-existent for the rest of the film. Because it feels like the last act of this movie, I mean, I do love, like, the whole office sequence and how they, like, go to the subway and, like, that whole scene too, but, like, at the same time it felt like it was trying to rush itself and not really take advantage of what they had before. And one other complaint, I feel like there are a couple scenes where it's almost eerie how Max is just comfortable with Vincent being in the cab when he knows that he's already killed like one or two people by this point in the film, and they just have like a casual conversation like nothing happened.
I think like the idea is like he is scared shitless, but he also knows that if he does anything, he's gonna die. Like I
He
always
did say to
got this idea
Vincent,
that
like,
he
he
was like
wants out of
panicked.
it, but Vincent's not taking any chances. He's like, no, you know too much.
Like I always got this idea that he was like kind of panicked, and he was just trying to like pretend to be cool.
It was interesting how Max did start to take on Vincent's characteristics near the end.
That was funny, actually.
Like,
Especially that one
like,
scene, like,
like,
where he was meeting Felix, and then, like, he's, like, all shy and timid and really scared for his life, and then he notices the guy, like, pull out a gun behind him, and then he's just, like, super serious, like Ultra Instinct mode where he's like, "Put the gun away. I'm the boss
I was actually
now." Takes his glasses off.
I was actually thinking of the scene where Max is about to get arrested, but then he flips on the police officer and says, "Hey, you never had a choice."
That too.
Mirroring what Vincent said to Max when he realized that he was a hitman.
Anything else?
Yeah, I
Nope.
have one more thing I want to say.
Okay.
I don't know where else to I don't know where else to say this, so I'm just going to say it now. During the ending chase scene through the office, I laughed my ass off when Vincent threw the chair out the window to break it and then tripped over the chair. I'm like 99% sure that was just an accident on Cruz's part, but they're like, no, it's too good. We gotta leave that in.
Actually, speaking of Vincent, so I've never really seen Tom Cruise in a villain role before. I don't know if he's done it. Well, he's probably done like a couple other roles. I haven't seen him in that kind of role.
Yeah, the only other one I can really think of on the top of my head was like he played a real piece of shit in Vanilla Sky, but he was still like the main character, and it was sort of about him becoming better. And he also played kind of a piece of shit in Magnolia, but like again, those were like sympathetic characters. You know, Eyes Wide Shut, he was a piece of shit, but he's a sympathetic piece of shit. This is like the only one where he's like just an active antagonist. You know, Tropic Thunder, I guess. Like, I don't think that counts. Like, being some fat fucking like studio exec. Like, yeah, I guess like that's Rain Man. I guess he played like a sociopathic piece of shit, but again, like he got better. Jerry Maguire, like he's done a lot of like movies where he plays a bad person, but like it's always about like the bad person like becoming a good person. And like they kind of like rely on Tom Cruise's charisma to make you kind of like not hate the piece of shit like entirely, and like actually are willing to see him kind of
Is
get
this the only
redeemed.
movie he's in where he doesn't get better?
Yeah, no, this is
He
like the only one
fucking
where he's
dies. Of
just a
course, he
piece of
doesn't
shit
get better.
the whole film. Yeah, but this is like the only where he's like a piece of shit the entire film.
It was about what I expected too. Like he was kind of just like straight faced, no nonsense. Like he doesn't. Well, he gets angry at a couple points when Max destroys the briefcase and he gets shot by Max, but
He's
the
kind of
bullet
like
grazed him.
he's kind of like Tom Cruise in real life in a way. No, I'm kidding. Um,
But I thought his performance was good for what it was. I don't think like the whole homicidal maniac part of his character like ever really came into light. He was just a guy doing his job. That's just kind of the impression that I got from him, but for what it was good.
yeah. Anyway, 2 thumbs up. Definitely recommend this film.
Yeah, I had a good time with this one. Unlike Red, I would prefer Heat over this, and I think some of the choices made in Heat made more sense than what we got here. But still, this is like a 8, 9 out of 10 film. I really enjoyed this.
I mean, he's got some real meat to it. I'll be honest. Like, if he just like cut out a couple things, like I probably and like reshot like a few things, I probably would like it a bit better. But he's just they didn't, so I don't.
That's fine.
If I have to give my take on this or Heat, I'd honestly go with Collateral. I did like Heat, but like you said, Red, the length did kind of get to me at a certain point.
That's interesting because I don't think I ever really felt that way. I mean, was it long? Absolutely, but like I never felt like it was like longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, and they're both good.
Here's the
I'm
thing.
just...
Like, I usually like long movies too, but like I don't know, just the way that he like was paced, just like it threw me off, and I don't know. That's fine.
All right.
Each their own.
I guess that's it then. So, Patty, I believe it's your turn.
That it is. I'm gonna be honest. I had a really hard time thinking of what I wanted to choose. Usually, I have a plan. Uh, Not this time. This was a bit tricky. I had a few ideas, but I wasn't really fully passionate about them. I'm just gonna go with this. This is a movie. I haven't seen it. This is an interesting one. So I got another musical for you.
Okay.
And this is a movie that is well liked, except all the fans of the musical that I know, none of them like the movie. I don't know how to come at this one. So
I feel like I know what it is, but I can't even remember the name. I know you've told me about something like this before.
there's a few movie musicals like that, but in this case, this is one we all know. I know for a fact we all know this one. Up next is the 1979 film adaptation, Hair.
Okay. Hair.
I said up next is Hair from 1979,
Oh, the movie. Okay.
So,
directed by Milos Forman.
because I remember you told me before, that like almost nobody liked the movie, but like everyone like loves the stage play.
Well, no, the movie is very popular. What do you mean?
Is it
Yeah.
of Hair?
Well,
Yes.
again, I was saying, I know Hair is a generally liked movie, but I have not seen of the Hair fans I know, none of them like the movie. I
Yeah,
guess it's like
because
a
it's very
general public.
different, but like it's.
It's like a general public versus fan base type of thing. I don't
Okay.
know. But hey, I mean, I liked the Bye Bye Birdie movie, and that was different. So I don't know. I'm open. I'm willing to be open.
And originally, what was I was thinking in my mind, Drowsy Chaperone, but that never got a movie adaptation. I don't think.
No, it never got him. I don't see how you could make that work as a
How
movie.
can you like something that doesn't exist?
No, because Drowsy Chaperone, it's entirely framed around it being on the stage. How do you do that? You can't really do that in a. I mean, you could, but it
You
loses
couldn't
its
really
magic.
make it work. So next week is Hair. I feel like we have a couple things to say about that even without seeing the movie, but that'll be for next time. So with that said, thank you everybody for watching. This has been It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, and now if you'll excuse me, I need to go find this person named Danny.